Hey everybody, welcome back to another Minecraft video. It's been about 2 months since my last upload, but I've done a lot since then, so I hope you guys like today's video. First of all, I built the Idaho Falls Temple. This is where me and my wife were married. I didn't actually include footage of this because I did a live stream for this, but just be aware that I did build this, and so that took a decent number of days off of how many days we're currently at. And now we can get into the rest of the video. Back in episode 2, we built this automatic stick farm, which was great, but we're now at day 1300 and I don't really need sticks anymore. I prefer to turn it into a paper farm. So I went ahead and just changed all of it into a sugarcane farm and then made an automatic paper maker at the bottom. This was a pretty simple process, it just took a little bit of time. Originally this was actually going to be a sugarcane farm, and then I turned it into a bamboo farm because I thought it would be better for emeralds. But now that we have the emerald dome, it doesn't really matter. And so I'd rather have this paper farm so that we can make fireworks easier. I also made this little system down here. I'll put a link in the description if you want to see it. It's basically just a timer that makes it so that the sugarcane is turned into paper at the right intervals, so that's making paper instead of sugar. And here we go. A fully functioning sugarcane / paper farm, which will definitely come in handy in the future days throughout this world. The next thing I want to do in this video, well, I guess first we need to actually make it so that this farm will run 24/7. And so to do that, all we gotta do is throw some ender pearls into a bubble column in water like this. And because this farm is on 2 separate chunks, I actually have to do this on both sides of the farm. But I've just got some doors leading into these different rooms on either side of the farm to allow this to happen. And then I also want to do this to my chicken farm because currently I'm usually working too far away from the chicken farm for it to actually be making chicken. And so I'll just go ahead and I'll dig out a section underneath the barn, fill it with water, and place soul sand at the bottom to get those bubble columns. And then this will allow me to also just throw an ender pearl down under here, and this way it can keep making chicken so that I don't have to worry about making my own food in this world, even if I'm not anywhere near the farm. So like this, once you've got it, you just throw the pearl. You gotta make sure there's actually room above the bubble column, so I'll dig that out up here. But just like that, we should be good. And testing, yep, that should be good. Seems like every once in a while the ender pearls disappear. I don't know if it's between updating versions or why that happens. So every once in a while you want to check it, but it should be good. And once again, we're just going to be improving a build from one of my earlier videos. As you can see, we've got the ocean monument drained, but there's not really a good way to get to it right now. And so I want to make a cool path to get there, just so that it feels a lot more connected to the rest of the town. So I'm thinking kind of like an S shape like this. It will just kind of curve coming out of the ocean monument right up to the shore in between the lighthouse and the creeper farm. So we'll extend it a little bit straighter from both sides so that it looks like this. And I know it's dark right now, but this is essentially what it's going to look like. And then it needs to be a path. It needs to actually look like it's good. And so we're going to make the path wider and we're going to drain it just like we did with the ocean monument. So this part took a little bit of figuring out to do because I just wasn't thinking this through completely. But basically you just have to go, I think 5 or 6 blocks out from the path. But then you have to like do a bigger circle in some parts and a smaller circle in other parts. Looking back on this, I could remake this in a matter of like seconds, at least the outline. But when I was originally doing it, I wasn't exactly sure how to do it. So it took me a little bit longer than it should have. In the end, this is what it's going to be looking like. I think it's going to be a really good looking path. It's just the right width that it fits perfectly into the world, and it will come right up, like I said, in between the lighthouse and the creeper farm. So now that we have the outline done, I got actually drain it. As you can see there, my wife just left the game. I found out that you can actually host a world using Lunar Client. The only problem is it's super laggy. As you can see here, the lag is just absolutely awful. So there were a few times where my wife got on and helped me, so thanks to her. But also, I wish our internet was better because it's just absolutely awful sometimes when she gets on. Mostly for her. It's not too bad for me, but she just can't even jump or move around or eat or anything. Here it is on day 1340. All drained out. I think it's gonna turn out super well. So the next thing that we gotta do is actually get the blocks for making the stairs. It's basically just gonna be a staircase going all the way down. If you count how many blocks are in either one of those S curve shapes, I don't remember what it is. I think it's roughly 150 blocks, whereas the difference in elevation between the rest of my town and the bottom layer of the ocean monument is about 1/5 of that or something. I don't remember exactly. Essentially, I figured it out to where if I go down, where if I do 2 blocks and then 3 blocks and then 2 slabs and then 3 slabs, if that made any sense and we just follow this S curve, then if my math is correct, we should basically end up at the exact same level as the glass in the ocean monument. And so it'll just be this gradual descending curve going all the way down until you're at that bottom level. And sure enough, it worked out basically perfectly. I was within 1 block of where I needed to be, which just turns out super nice. I think it's just gonna look super nice because it just fits perfectly. And then once I had the outline done, I just had to match the staircase in the rest of the hallway, or the path I guess you could say, with the blocks on the side, which was originally super easy to do. You just match them up exactly with the ones to the left and the right of them. But then when you get to the curve, this is a lot harder to do because you can't just go straight across to line up where you need to be. And so this actually took quite a while for me to figure out how to do. I remember I was watching a lot of Stranger Things. I had never seen it before, and my wife wanted me to watch it so we could watch the season finale. And so I watched like all the way up to season 3 doing this. It was lots of fun. I also ran out of blocks twice, and I don't think I've said this yet, but I recently had to reset my world. Like I deleted 90% of my world, just all the faraway chunks I had explored because of the size of the world. It was making my computer not be able to load it. And so when I went back to get more of the ocean monument bricks, I actually had to kill the Elder Guardians again, which was super obnoxious. But it only took maybe an hour or so to do before I had all the blocks I needed. And this is what it looks like now. The only thing left that I wanted to do was destroy all of the walls. I wasn't completely thinking this through when I originally did it. I thought I could just destroy it with a torch. That didn't work, so then I tried a shovel. I wanted it to look like the ocean, or these stairs went down to the ocean monument and just divided the water magically, sort of. But no matter what I tried, I just couldn't get the water to behave how I wanted. And so after playing with it for a little bit, I just kind of gave up. I couldn't really think of how I needed to go about this. Luckily, this was back in November, and I come back to this in January before the end of the video because I finally thought about how to do this and make it look the way I wanted it to look. So for the time being, at 1345 days, it's just the staircase with the sand to either side, which doesn't even look that bad. Originally, I was planning to just leave it like that, but I will say I'll fix it by the end of the video. The next thing I wanted to make was some map art. I've never actually done map art in my entire life before, at least not in survival. I have in one other creative world, but I wanted to do it in this world. So first I had to find the chunk or chunks that I wanted the map art to be on, and I just couldn't really decide at first. Every map that I kept picking up seemed to have land on it, and I knew that it would be best if the map didn't have any land. And so eventually I decided that this area of the map was going to be the best spot to build this next build. So once I had the area picked out, I just had to make an outline so I knew exactly where I would be building. And there's probably a better way to do this, like looking at your coordinates to decide where you need to build, but I've never done this before, so I just kept looking at my map and going back and forth until eventually I had this area blocked off, and so I knew exactly where we would be building the giant Monopoly board. So once I decided where it needed to be, I went ahead and did all of the spacing for the tiles. Now the spacing isn't going to be like 100% exact because you can't do half blocks. However, I think that the furthest I ever get off from proportioning wise is like 11 or 12%. So as you can see, if you know what a Monopoly board looks like at all, this is pretty accurate dimensions of what you'd see on a real life board. So it should be fine. And then I just had to add all the colors. So I got the dark blue, the light blue, the pink / magenta, red, yellow, green, which I actually placed the green in the wrong location originally. Then we have the purples, also known as the brown on some boards. I did jail and then also orange. There's actually 3 different colors of chance. So you've got the pink chance square, you've got the red, and then you've also got like a light blue chance. These were actually pretty easy to do. Free parking was not easy to do, but I went through it super fast actually. Super happy with how this turned out. If you look in the bottom right, you can see on the map exactly what these look like. That map will be in my hand off and on throughout the making of this, just to make sure that it looks good as far as the map art. When I went to put the bars on the jail, I wasn't exactly sure how to do this because of how the spacing works on here. I couldn't fit 3 whole bars in, but I also didn't want to just do 2 bars because 2 bars wouldn't look really like a jail. So my wife suggested that I just do like a checkerboard pattern like this, which for all intents of the map art, I think looks perfectly fine. And then I spent a while working on the pass go square. This one, once again, this one isn't completely to scale, but this is because I wanted it to actually look like it says go on the map art, which I played with it forever, and it actually kind of does look like go or maybe co. It just depends on how you look at it. The red concrete is supposed to be the letters. Next up, I went ahead and I just added all of the prices of the properties on the board. All of the prices have roughly the same spacing, so I just did 2 white blocks, then 5 black blocks, and then 2 white ones again. And that's how it's going to be for every single one. And then on some of the spaces, you have bigger text. Like this right here is the luxury tax. And so I just used 2 spaces of blocks to make bigger text. I obviously can't fit in the entire letters, and so I'm just kind of making it look halfway like it. I added a ring for the luxury tax. It's just a super simple design, but when you look at it on the map, it looks pretty accurate. Electric company was probably the second hardest one to design, just because I couldn't get this light bulb looking how I wanted it to look. This was the original design that I did, but if you look at the map, it just looks like a coin from Mario. It also is way too small, so I went ahead and I extended how tall the light bulb is, but that only made it look more like a coin for Mario. And so in an attempt to make that look better, I added 2 more black blocks at the bottom where you would screw in the light bulb. And in the end, it still looks like a coin from Mario. There's not really a way to fix that. I tried adding 1 more black block here to maybe fix it, but I didn't really like how it looked touching the text, and so I got rid of that. It's not perfect, but I think it's good enough for all intents and purposes. Next up, I did the trains. The trains were super easy and super hard at the same time. So the design that I ended up going with, I built in about 20 seconds, but I wasn't sure if I liked it, so I built like 5 other designs before I eventually came back to my original design, which you can see on the top and bottom of the map right here, which they don't quite look like the Monopoly trains actually, but they do look like a train. You can tell it's supposed to be a train, so that's what I ended up going with. Next up, I did waterworks, which I was afraid would be really hard to build just because you have to build an entire faucet, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get all the detailing I needed on, but I just went with like a super simple faucet design, and this arguably ended up being the easiest tile to build. Like it was just boom, boom, boom. I had it done, and it actually looked pretty decent. So I'm pretty happy with how that one turned out. Community chest went by super quick. I actually don't have great footage of this one, but it's just a chest, so it's not that hard to build. And then jail was 100% the hardest one to build, just because you have to build an entire man pointing out of like an 8-bit block. It was just really hard to do, and so this one's also not to scale of what it should be on the board, but you can't really tell. In the end, this is what it looks like, at least the outside spaces, and if you've played Monopoly at all, I think you can agree that this is pretty good for a Minecraft map art. I'm sure there are a few blocks here and there that I could have done better, but overall, I'm super happy with this. I was taking screenshots to send to my cousins because I play Monopoly with them all the time. And then it was just filling in the inside of the board. If you look on a Monopoly board, you've got these chance spaces with like little question marks. So I just used redstone to kind of do that part. And then I haven't really mentioned this. I had to go to the end to get concrete multiple times. I'm not going to show this every time I do it, but gathering materials, it took time, but it wasn't that bad because I could just come here with duplicated concrete powder, and then I also had an automatic concrete machine that just turns it into concrete in a matter of like, I think I could go through 3 shulkers in about 3 minutes, so it was pretty fast. When I went to make the middle part that says Monopoly, I decided it'd be funny if I did Mineopoly like Minecraft. So I kind of played around with what would look best. My wife said I should just replace the O with an I. And so there we have it, the middle part's done. And then it was just white concrete from here. I'm not going to show all that because it's pretty boring. But in the end, it took almost 8 hours exactly. 5 hours for the outer parts. This is just me getting some redstone for the very last part. But it took about 5 hours for the outside tiles and then 3 hours for that middle part. And this is what it looks like. I'm super happy with how this turned out. I'll go ahead and fly over so I can update the maps. And then speaking of maps, I mean, this is map art, and so I went ahead and made a few copies of the map art so I could place them. I placed one in the villager house just because they're all kind of trapped in here, and I figured they might want a game to play. And then I just put one in my house because I'm just super happy with how this turned out. I think it looks super good. And yeah, that's it. This was originally going to be the end of the video. I then started on my nether build. I'm not going to include footage of that. That'll be in the video entirely of its own. But then as I was doing the nether build, that's when I was like, wait a minute, I know how to fix the staircase. Oh, also I got a bunch of villagers to spawn proof the nether. So I just thought I'd throw that in here. That's why my days went up so many. So there's a huge jump in days. Here we are at the end of the video. I guess I forgot to show the footage of me actually getting rid of these walls, but that's completely fine. It wasn't much to see anyways. Basically, I just made the walls too thick, and then I deleted the inside walls and then the outside walls. And it was actually such a pain to do because I had to make so many backups of my world because Minecraft water is super finicky, and I kept flooding the world, and so that's why I made so many backups just so I could go back anytime I messed up. So it took a while, but this is how it looks in the end. I went ahead and switched to creative mode just for the sake of showing this at the end of the video. I'm super happy with how this turned out, actually. This is essentially how I wanted it to look. I just couldn't think of how to get it to this point 2 months ago. Once again, I built this temple. You can go back and watch the live stream. It's actually not completely done, so I'll probably finish the temple someday, but for now, I think it's good enough. I'll give you one more look at the Monopoly board. It just looks so good. I'm so happy with how this turned out. I really don't know what I would change on this board, if anything. Like I said, there's small blocks that could be changed here and there just for proportioning reasons, but everything here just looks super good. For those of you who've never seen one of my videos, this is the diamond house. It started out as like a diamond shack in probably episode 2. It's been here a long time, and I just kind of make it bigger each episode. So it finally has a full roof. It's actually like a functional house. We'll see how long it is before I make this house bigger once again. And then here's my villager breeding pit. 80 or so of these guys were turned into zombies, but I kept a few of them so that I can fill all of these houses back here with villagers someday, just because I think it'll kind of bring the whole village together more. And then one more thing I want to show is just what I've been doing in the end. So I said I was watching Stranger Things. Majority of that time during those first 3 seasons, I watched seasons 1 through 3 in the span of less than 4 days. And that whole time, I was just mining out this end stone. Eventually I want to do a project in the end, but I don't want to do all of that in one sitting. So I'll just work on it a little bit at a time. It'll probably be like 3 years before I actually get to it. But a little progress here, a little progress there, I figure eventually I'll get it done. And that's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. I want this to hopefully get more than like 20 views. Hopefully I'll get some subscribers. But thank you all so much for watching, and with that, I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.